Hello everyone, my name is Sumit. Welcome to my channel SumitTube. In this tutorial series, we will learn how to design beautiful apps using Matlab App Designer. We will start with the basics like how to drag and drop components, edit their properties and write callback functions. We will be designing all of our apps from scratch and explaining the process step by step, making it very easy to understand the design flow. First, we will learn about different components by creating some simple apps. Then we will design professional apps that include different components, private and public properties and functions. We will also cover some complex examples such as designing multi-window apps. After designing apps, we will learn how to make standalone desktop applications and share them with other users. They can install and run the app like any other app without needing to have MATLAB installed on their computers. I'll create a YouTube playlist including all the Matlab App Designer videos. I recommend watching the videos in order so you don't miss anything. The Matlab version I am using is 2023B, which is the latest version at the time of making this video. If you are using a different version, you may notice some differences, but the core functionality remains the same. So it does not matter which Matlab version you are using. Okay, so let's get started. When we design an app, it may have several components. But most of the cases, what happens, multiple components are used to update a single value or a single plot. For example, consider this sample app. Here we have three components, a slider, a knob and a spinner. Let's say all of these three components will be used to update the plot of the sinusoidal signal. So we have to write same code three times for the callbacks of these three components. Definitely, this is not an efficient approach. It would be much more efficient if we can write the code just once and then reuse it. Now this is possible by using a helper function. Then we would just link the helper function to the callbacks of these three components and this helper function will update the plot. Now what is helper function? Helper functions are regular MATLAB functions that you define in your app so that you can call them at different places in your code. Creating a helper function allows you to single source the common commands and avoid having to maintain redundant code. The main purpose of using helper function is to reuse code which makes your app more efficient, more robust and much easier to debug. In today's simple app design, we have four edit fields. Now these three are the input edit fields and this one is the output edit field. What we want? We want to add these three input edit fields and put the add or sum result here. Now, what is also going to happen if I change this value of this edit field, the sum is going to update and the font color would change to red. Now, if I change the value of this one edit fields, in that case, the font color would be green. And if I change the value of this edit field, in that case, font color would be blue. Now, if I change the value of any of these three input edit field, this sum value will be updated. Now in normal case, we have to write three callback functions. We are going to see how we can achieve this by writing just one helper function. Okay. Now if I change this value to 1, the sum should be 1 plus 0 plus 0. That means 1. But we are changing the value of this edit field. So we should see the font color red. So this is our sum result and the font color is red. Now if I change the value of this one, in that case sum result would be 3 and as I am changing from this edit field, the font color would be green. As you can see, the sum is 3 and the font color is green. Now if I change the value of this one, sum would be 4 and the font color should be blue. Now I can change this value in any sequence. If I change this value, result is 5 and this green color indicates the last change I have made in this edit field. Now if I change this value to 2, in this case result would be 6 and as I have changed from this one, that's why font color is red. Now if I change this value to 2, then the result would be 7 and the font color is blue. That means we have changed the value from this edit field. Now let's see how we can design this app. Okay, so time to design our app now. Now I already have opened a new app file. Now let's bring some edit field into our app. Now as you remember, there are two types of edit field. One is numeric edit field and another one is text edit field. Today we need numeric edit field. So let's bring some edit field here. Okay, let's delete this associated label. We don't need this label. Let's make this larger or maybe a little bit smaller. Okay, now let's change the font size to 48 so we can see easily and also align the text in the middle. Okay, now let's place it here. Now we need total 4 numeric edit fields. Of course, I can bring some edit fields from here, but it's better to make some duplicates of this edit field. So it has the same size as well as the same font size as well as the same design. One way to do this is definitely copy and paste, and but the simple way is to just make a duplicate. You can do it by right click and choose this option duplicate, or you can use the keyboard shortcut which is Control D. So let's press Control D. We have a duplicate. Let's make one more duplicate by pressing Control D, and let's press Control D one more time. So right now we have 4 edit fields. Okay, let's also bring some label. This label is going to show the plus and is equal to sign. Okay, let's put it plus. Let's change the font size also to 48. Okay, now we need one more plus. So also, let's again press Ctrl plus D to make a duplicate. Now just place it here. And we need one more label which is going to show the equal to sign. Now as you can see, they are not aligned. So to make this alignment, what we can do, select all of these, then go to this canvas tab, and under this align group, you can see there are different align options. We can choose this option which is align middle. As you press here, you can see all of the objects are aligned in the middle. Now I want to space them so there is equal space between all of them. So to do this, what we can do, we can go to this space group and there is an option it calls apply horizontally. So press on this. Right now, as you can see, all of these are nicely aligned and there are equal space between these groups. Okay, fine. Now what we can do, we can change the default name given by this Matlab App Designer. Okay, let's put it in the top and let's change this edit field name to, this is a input edit field. So it would be IN and let's say it is input X. Okay, fine. Now this is edit. Now Matlab gives this some default name like edit field 2. We need to change this name so we can understand which edit field means what. Okay, this is also input. Let's give this input name y. Okay, now this one, this is our edit field. This is also going to indicate the input and let's give its name z. Okay, and this should be our output, so we can rename it edit field input output, and this is going to show us the sum of these three inputs x, y, z. So let's give its name output s. Okay, so we are done. Our app design is complete. Now we have total 4 edit fields. 3 are input edit fields and 1 is output edit field. Let's say the value of the input edit fields are x, y, and z respectively, and the output value is the sum. Now, what we want to do, we want to add the value of x, y, and z and assign the value to the sum variable. Now, normally what we need to do, first we have to open a callback function for the first input edit field. And then we have to implement this addition or summation process. Then we have to open a callback function for the second edit field, and we have to copy the same code. And finally, we have to open a callback function for the third input edit field, and then again we have to copy this code. As you can see, we have to copy the same code multiple times, making our app redundant. Now we just need the code once. So we can use the helper function. Inside this helper function, we would implement this addition or summation process. Then we can simply call this helper function from the callbacks of these three input edit fields. Now in a previous tutorial video, we have seen how to use edit field. As we are going to use this component in today's app design, I would recommend to watch that video first. You can find the link of this tutorial video in the description below. I would also attach the link in the I button. Now just to recap, how do we get value from the edit field? Let's say we want to get the value 3 from this edit field. For this, we have to write x is equal to app.editField.value, and this x variable will have the value 3. Now one thing is important here. Here edit field is the name of the component. If you have given some other name of your component, then you have to use that specific name. Now how do we set the value of edit field? Let's say we want to set the value 5 for this edit field. In that case, we have to write app.editField.value is equal to 5, and the edit field will have value 5. Again, edit field is the name of the component. If you have changed the component name, you have to use that specific name. Now we have to write two different type of function. First one is the helper function, which is going to implement this add or sum process, and number two is the callback function. Now this one is important. We still have to write callback function for these three input edit fields, but we would just call the helper function from the callbacks of these three input edit fields. Okay, so time to write our helper function and callback function. Right now we are in design view. For that we need to go to the code view. So let's click on this. Right now we are in code view. Now there are two ways we can write a helper function. One option is to go to this code browser, and as you can see there is an option called functions. So click here, and as you can see there is a plus sign as well as a drop down menu here. So click on this drop down. As you can see there are two type of helper function can be written. One is called private function, that means it can be called within the app only, and another one is public function. Public function can be called inside as well as outside of the app. Another way is to go to this toolbar. As you can see there is also a function option here. If you click on this drop down, you can see this private function and public function. Now you can also directly click on this here. In that case, a private function would be open. Right now, we need to write a simple private helper function because our function would be called within the app only. So let's do this. Let's click on this. As you can see, it is opened a private function, and it gives this function name a default name which is func, and this output argument as well as the argument input argument app. Okay, now we don't need this output argument, so let's delete this and let's give this function name a relevant name. Now when I change this function name, take a look what happens here. Let's give this function name is doing sum or add, so let's give this name sum add. Okay, now as you can say, it is automatically renamed here. Now we have to write this function here. Okay. Okay, so first we need three inputs. Okay, let's give this input name x. X would be value of this edit field. If you remember, this edit field name is edit field input x, and this one name is edit field input y, and this one name is edit field input z. Okay, so let's create this x, and we have to get the value from edit field input x, and we need to access the value property. Okay, so this is our first input. Let's give the second input variable name y, and similarly we have to take the edit field. This time we have to take this edit field input y, and we want to access the value. Okay, and finally the z input. So we need app edit field input z, and we need to access this value property. So we have taken 3 inputs. Okay, now let's do this add or sum. Let's give the variable name sum, and it would be just x plus y plus z. Okay, now we have to set the output. If you remember, output edit field name is app edit field out s. So we have to set the edit field. This is our output s edit field, and we are going to set the value property equal to sum. Okay, so we are done now. Now, as I mentioned here, as you can see, it has a input argument app. This argument is must. Whenever you define any helper function, you have to add this argument as the first argument. Now, if you want, you can add any additional arguments, but this argument is must. Okay. Now, let's say I want to add a additional argument. Let's say I want to change the color of the output edit field. Okay, so what we can do now, we want to set the font color of this output edit field. Now you can check here, the property name is font color. Font color is 2 words, so F is uppercase and C is uppercase, and this is font color. Okay, so let's set the output edit fields font color. If you type font, as you can see, it is showing you suggestions, and we need to change the font color of this one, and this font color would be equal to this color argument. Okay, let's set this value to color. Okay, so we have completed writing our helper function. Now we have to write the callback functions. Okay, now let's go back to this design view. We have to write callback function for these 3 input edit fields. So first select this input edit field, go to this callbacks tab, then add a value changed function. As you can see, it already opened a callback function, and it is associated with this edit field input x. Now inside this function, we just need to call the helper function. Now if you remember, the name of the helper function is sumAdd, and it would take 2 arguments. The first argument is the default app argument and a color. Okay, so let's call this function. If you start typing sumAdd, it would give you the suggestions. And remember, first argument is always set, and the color we want to set, for example, let's say red color. Okay, so we are done. Now if you go to this callbacks, you would see all of the callbacks function here. Right now we have already opened a single callback function, that's why this callback function is here. Now if you want, you can rename the function name from here. Anyway, we are satisfied with this default name. Okay, let's go back to this design view. Now write a callback for this input y edit field. Okay, let's add a value changed callback function for this one. As you can see, it says edit field input y value changed. Similarly, we just need to call the helper function from here. First argument is always app, and this time we want to set the green color. So if this function is called from X, then the output font colors would be set to red, and otherwise if it is called from input Y, the color would be green. Okay. Now we need to write the callback function for this last input, which is input Z. So select this drop down and add a value change function. Okay. Okay, let's call this function sum at. First argument is always add, and this time we want to set the color blue. So let's type B. Okay, now as you can see, all of these three callback function are listed here. If you want, you can rename this function name. If you notice, you cannot change the function name here. It is the default function name Matlab App Designer gives us. But if you want to change this name, you can do it here from directly. Just double click on it and give the function name any valid name you want. Now, if you click on this input text edit field, it takes you to this input text edit field. Alternatively, what you can do, you can right click and click on this go to, and as you can see, this one is selected. If we select input y value change and click on this go to, this cursor is now in this one. Similarly, if you go to this input JS and the keyboard shortcut is Control D, so if you click on this, it takes you to edit field input jet value change. Okay, so let's run this program. Okay, now let's see. Now remember, if we change the edit field value from this one, font color would be red. If we change the value from here, font color would be white. Sorry, font color would be green. And if we change this value from here, then font color would be blue. So input field X would be red, input field Y would be green, and input field Z would be blue. Okay, let's change this value from 0 to 1. So output should be 1 plus 0 is equal to 1, and the font color should be red because we are changing this first edit field. So either you can click enter on your keyboard or you can just click outside to see the change. As you can see, the summation is 1 and the font color is red. Okay. Now, if I change this number, let's change the number 2. So 1 plus 2 would be 3. And this time we are changing the number from here. So font color should be green. Again, either press outside or press enter on your keyboard, and as you can see, the summation is 3 and the font color is green. Now if I change the number here, let's say 2, so 1 plus 2 plus 2 it will be 5, and as I am changing from this third one, this color should be blue. As you can see, the color is blue. Now if I change back this to 1, so 1 plus 1 plus 2 would be 4, and remember this y input edit field, so color should be green. Okay, now if I change back this to 1, color should be blue because I have changed from this. Now you can also enter negative number. Let's say I would write -2. Now when you press minus, it would show you a warning that value must be numeric because minus sign does not indicate any number. But if you press any number after that, right now, it would not give you any warning. So summation would be 0 and color for should be red. As you can see, color is red. Now one thing is important here. As you can see, if you want, you can change this edit field, right? Because this is also editable. Now this is not desired. So what can we do? We can go to this design view and click on this edit field, and if we go to this property, and as you can see, there is an interactivity group. Expand this group and there is an option called editable. You can uncheck this, and after unchecking this, you cannot edit it anymore. Right now, let's say if I change this value to 2, so would be 2, and as you can see right now, you cannot change it anymore. Otherwise, it will work as exactly as same, but you cannot change it anymore. Okay, so hopefully you understand how to use helper function so we can easily reuse our code when designing the app. That's all from today's video. Hope you have learned something new today. Let me know your thoughts about this tutorial series. Add your comments below this video. As usual, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and I am going to catch you in the next video.